The premise of this book is unclear to me. I know it's a historical fiction, but I did... What? Alright, welcome back. In this vlog, we're going to be doing something that ever since I got back into reading, I've been meaning to do on this channel, and that is a dedicated reading vlog. So by that I mean we're going to be reading a specific book in this vlog, so it won't be spoiler free because I am going to be literally picking up the camera as I'm reading this book with you guys. I will be literally picking up the camera to give my real-time reactions as I'm reading this vlog, and I don't want to limit myself to having to go back as I'm editing and deciding what parts of this video I should leave out so as not to spoil the video. So this will be full of spoilers, I'm sure. So if you haven't read the book yet, there's probably something you want to save for after you finish reading it. But I'm going to be reading through The Nightingale. This was one of those books that for maybe the whole 2024, people I had seen like recommending this book. I think it's much older than that, but I had never read it. And I've been hearing nothing but good things about this book and about this author. So I figured why not go ahead and give it a try. It is a thick one. Okay, matter of fact, let me get my copy. So she is a thick girly. All right, but we're already making like a good amount of progress. So when books are this thick, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I will try to find an audiobook version just so that like those moments where like earlier I was cooking or if I'm doing laundry or something that won't allow me time to like sit down and read, I can knock out some of the chapters through an audiobook. So that's my plan with this book, is to do both audio and physical reading of this book. I don't remember if I have a Kindle version of it, but since I already have the hard copy of the book, I'll probably just do that instead. And that'll be how I read the book during this vlog. Again, I'm going to be giving my real-time responses as I'm reading it. I'll let you guys know where I'm at in the book. So if you are reading along or you want to just kind of get my take as I'm reading at the beginning, I'll let you know where I'm at in the book. So that way, if you don't want to spoil certain things, you can stop watching at a certain point. Or if you've already read the book and you want to kind of see how I feel about it, then this video will be for you as well. So let's dive into this book. I think it's going to be a good one. Okay, so first thoughts immediately. I am on chapter 9. The premise of this book is unclear to me. I know it's a historical fiction, but I did... What?
Sorry.
This is my life.
I missed you, sugar.
I clearly missed you too, bud. So the back of the book, I think I remember reading. I do not like this light coming in here like this. Hold on one second.
Can you close it?
Yes, could you please? Thank you so much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Oh, that's so much better. Do we like that better? I like that better. Okay. So the back of the book says, with courage, grace, and powerful insight, best-selling author Kristen Hanna captures the epic panorama of World War II and illuminates an intimate part of history seldom seen, the Women's War. The Nightingale tells the stories of two sisters separated by years and experience, by ideals, passion, and circumstance, each embarking on her own dangerous path toward survival, love, and freedom in German-occupied, war-torn France. A heartbreakingly beautiful novel that celebrates the resilience of the human spirit and the durability of women. It is a novel for everyone, a novel for a lifetime. So, I do feel like that did not... Like, it gave a good idea of what you were going to be reading, like, the general premise, but, like, any details about plot and, like, what exactly we're going through, you're kind of just left to wonder. And I actually don't mind that. I like the idea of going into a book kind of blind, because then I can kind of, as I'm reading it, develop an idea of where I think it's going. Automatically, I can tell you I'm going to love this book. I'm only on chapter 9, and the writing style, first of all, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Easy to read, okay, easy to follow along. And I wouldn't even call it a complaint. This is more just a commentary. I don't speak French. Never have. Don't know if I ever will. So words that are sometimes interspersed throughout that are French words, I'd be like, what that mean? So, like, I will take a moment to, like, go look it up or use context clues to figure it out, because some of them are kind of easy to, pick out what it means. But that would be the only thing I'd have to say. Other than that, very easy to read. So, right now, it appears we are following the perspective of the two sisters that they mentioned in the back. They're kind of like experiencing this war in two different ways. That's actually really eye-opening for me. So already. So both the sisters, when they were younger, is it Vivana? I can't remember. Vianney. I'm probably pronouncing that totally wrong. I'll correct it later. We'll just call her V for now. So V is like the older sister to Isabel, her younger sister. I want to say they're like maybe, 4 years apart. I could be wrong on that, but when they were younger, when Isabel was 4 and V was a bit older than her, their mother passed away, right? So that's where we are in the book. The mother passes away, and the father kind of just like, because I guess he went to the war himself. I don't think it was World War II though, but I can't remember if they spoke about which war he was fighting in. But when he came back, apparently he just turned into a completely different person, which makes sense. Like, you're seeing a lot of death and terror and, bullets flying here, there, and everywhere. And, like, I could only imagine how traumatic being in a war zone is. So he came back, and I guess the older sister V, she notices that he's different. And then on top of that, their mother passes away. I don't remember if they tell, like, what happened. Like, I think she got sick, but they didn't, I don't think, speak to exactly what illness she died from. But she passes away, and, like, almost as soon as the mom passes away, the dad sends the girls off to, like, some boarding school. Like, he's like, essentially, I'm done being a dad because it's too much for me. So there's that feeling of abandonment that both of them obviously share. But then, like, as they're getting older, because we kind of go back and forth in the timeline, like, we start off with, and I don't know which one it is, and I think that's probably going to be the key toward the end of the book, like, whose perspective we start off with the book at, because she's much older in age, we're told, kind of like how Titanic starts off when you're getting the perspective of Rose as she's, like, in her 80s. It's kind of how, like, this one started off, like, so you're getting the perspective of what I believe to be one of the sisters. I don't think they actually named the character. at the very beginning, and how she's like rummaging through some old stuff in her attic that brings her memories. And then we kind of dive into, flashback of 1939, 1940, what was happening. But I don't think we're told which character that was. You start making assumptions, and then you realize maybe you shouldn't make those assumptions. But yeah, so this is essentially us now in this timeline when they're a little bit older, and V has experienced life in one way where she got pregnant really young, found the love of her life, got married, and so her priorities are going to be a lot different than her younger sister, who has been kicked out of several schools since, being dropped off at the first one. She doesn't have any kids. She's not married. So her perspective about how this war is, kind of panning out and the things that she feels responsible for are a lot different than her sister's, because her older sister, her husband is now being called to fight in the war. So immediately I'm like, yeah, if I'm a mom and a wife and my husband is called to war, I want this war to end. I want my husband home. I want my family safe. Like, those are my priorities. Whereas like Isabel's priorities as a young woman, no kids, no significant other, she's like, I want to be a part of the change. Like, I want to fight in this war. I want, the Germans to pay for all the stuff that they've done. I don't want us to come to any agreements or surrender. Like, so she's making waves immediately. And the two sisters weren't, like, they got separated at some point, and even that's a whole nother layer, right? Because Isabel feels like not only was she abandoned by her father, she feels like she was also abandoned by her older sister, because at some point, like, her dad wanted her to go help V out, when she had the baby and everything like that, and V kind of, I guess, turned her back on her because she had also been dealing with miscarriages, and this book is so heavy, and we are only in chapter 9. Like, there's so many layers here. I love it. So it's like reading it from those perspectives, realizing each character already, we've developed a background for why that perspective is that way, right? Like, so I understand V's perspective because I know kind of where she's coming from, and I understand Isabel's perspective because I see where she's coming from. But then on top of all of that, I have my own perspectives as a mom and a wife for how I am reading this book and taking kind of the steps that these characters are deciding to take. And like, you almost like start siding with a character when you're like, oh, I see why you're doing that, girl. That makes sense. But you're coming into this with your own bias because you have your own background, your own story, your own experience that will lend itself to, like, empathizing with the characters. You get what I'm saying? So I'm loving this writing style. Already loving it. 10 out of 10 to the writing style. This could definitely be a 5-star read, so long as it doesn't wreck me. I've heard this book completely wrecks people. So we'll see how it goes. But so far, my emotions are in check. I'm enjoying the read. I definitely think this is one of those books that, even though it's a really thick one, I could see myself flying through it. On top of the fact that I already am listening to it on audio, the writing style is going to make it easy to read. Having the audiobook is going to make it quicker to get through. But just like the way it's being written, like, the chapters are pretty short. And that's another thing for me. The book can be huge. It could be 600 pages. If the chapters are short, I fly through it. I don't know. It's just something psychologically with me. Like, it just makes it easier to get through. I don't know. I'm enjoying it. We're going to go back to reading this. My plan is to finish this book before the end of the year. And right now it is December 24th. So at some point this week, this book is getting done. And I can't wait to see where we go with this. Again, my emotions are in check right now. I don't know what to say in the future for future me. But so far, so good. Okay, so here's another thing, right? So I'm on page 111, and so one of the German soldiers has to, I guess there's a word for it that they use in German. I forget what it is, but it's like Beirut or Beirut. I don't know. I'm probably butchering that. But it's pretty much essentially like a decree or an order that these soldiers are able to stay on or in somebody's house because of what's going on in the area and with the war. And so this is V's home. And so her sister came to find her after she gets kicked out of her last school. And that's its own thing. But anyways, so this soldier essentially is like, I have to stay here by order. And given this order, like, if you don't want me to stay here, if you have issue with me staying here, that's fine. But that just means you have to leave. And I can't say that you'll be able to get your house back type stuff, right? And even though there's a lot of hesitancy in that, like, they realize they really don't have a choice. And so she lets him stay, but it's so awkward because there are these moments where he will, like, be with V by herself, and she's not comfortable with that. But the moments that they do have where it's just the two of them, like on this page, he's like, my wife, alas, is not much of a cook. He was right beside her now, taking Antoine's place, a hungry man peering down at a cooking dinner. You are married, she said, reassured by it, although she couldn't say why, and a baby soon to be born. We are planning to call him Wilhelm, although I will not be there when he is born, and of course such decisions must inevitably be his mother's. It was such a human thing to say. So it's like those moments where, like, she's saying to herself, like, he's a human. Like, even though this is going on, even though I should consider him the enemy, like, he's a human being. He has kids. He has these same type of, like, parental experiences that I have. He's just on the other side of this right now, and it's kind of hard. But I love how she's, like, humanizing the characters so that you, as a reader, you're almost struggling to figure out, like, whose side should I be on? Like, who should I hate? Like, who should I not hate? Like, it's hard because we're all humans and we're all having our own, like, experiences and trials and tribulations. And sometimes we just have to do things we don't want to do that are harming to other people. Oh, it's just such a complex read already. And mind you, I'm on page 111. See how I'm flying through this? This is going to be a good one. I'm so mad that I waited this long to read this. But here we are. All right, quick check-in. I just finished chapter 14. I'm probably going to read it for another 30 minutes or so, or at least until my eyes can't take it anymore and I fall asleep. We are at the part where, right before this chapter, because chapter 14 is like a flash forward, so like we're in the present time. It's 1995, I guess is what I should say. The more recent time. And I don't believe we have yet been told who that perspective is coming from, and I think that's the whole point. And we're getting like little hints here and there of things that happened in that character's life, and we're trying to draw the connections with the like 1940 World War II stuff. So for that reason alone, I love this. Like, we got the dual POV, but we also have the, recent and past POV as well. So we are, as a reader, being required to kind of do a lot of like paying attention to detail and things like that. Like, I love when I read a book, like the author kind of, like, I have to pay attention. Sometimes I don't like to do that when a story is like flat and I don't feel like I'm getting, much depth. But I'm already getting a lot of depth here, so phenomenal writing. It looks like it's on its way to being a 5-star, I'm not gonna lie. And I am only about 200 pages in, so I have a bit to go. A little over a third of the way done. So I think I'm gonna try to get maybe halfway through this before I go to bed. So far so good. I am really loving this writing. I'm really loving it. It's very easy to follow. It's just good. I love it. I love it. I love it. When I'm listening to the audiobooks, whoever is narrating this is doing a phenomenal job as well. There's just like, I have no notes. I have no notes yet. I have no notes. I'm enjoying this. And I pray I don't get disappointed. So far so good. I'm not gonna lie, I had to go back and reread a couple chapters because I think I, in my haste to kind of like not get through the story, because it's not like I'm trying to get through, like I'm trying to savor it, but like as I'm doing that, I'm like, listening to it while I'm like doing stuff, and then I'll miss something, or I'll be sitting there reading and I'm like half falling asleep, and you know how that goes, like you're dozing off, so like you're reading the same line 20 million times, and then like even if after you go past it, your mind may start to wander. Saying all that to say, I'm still on chapter 15 because I had to go back a couple times, and then there were some times where they would say something, like the character would reflect on something, and I'm like, did they tell us that already? And I had to go back to remember. So I think we're good now. Tomorrow's gonna be a really, really chill day. That won't be in this vlog, but it'll probably be another vlog because we have a full day of just all the cozy things, cozy vibes. I'm excited. I'll be able to get more reading done tomorrow too. All right, that was just my check-in. Not really much of a check-in because clearly I haven't done much. But we're gonna check back in and I'll let you know how this book's going. Y'all. So I'm doing the laundry. Okay, I'm working from home today, so I'm like splitting my time between doing the laundry and then I have these online trainings I'm trying to do on my computer. But when I'm, getting up to do my laundry, I put my headphones on and I listen to the Nightingale. And y'all, I'm on chapter 22, I believe. Just know. I think I said this was going to be a spoiler vlog, but if you're reading, you know. And as a mom, my heart just sank. And I'm like, it just, whenever you read like historical fiction and you know that while the characters in the book may not be real, they're based on things that actually happened, so somebody experienced this, which makes it real. And my heart is just, and then like, so for me, it's not just what's happening, like the plot, it's also what's happening like internally, right? Because you got to think about that. These are characters or people, right? Because I said this very likely happened to somebody in real life. And they're having to make these decisions about their lives and the lives of the people they care about with all this other stuff happening around them. Like, literally, bullets are flying. And you have to decide, am I burying my child right now? Am I trying to carry them across the border? You know, I have a newborn as well. I have to focus on them. They're crying. They clearly don't know what's going on. I'm wanting to take the time to grieve, but we got to get out of here. Like, oh my God. It's so heavy already. And I think I may be at the halfway point of this book. This is going to be a good one. I'm definitely, this is more than a 3-star already. This is far more than a 3-star. Okay, so this is my boss telling me I need to finish this training. So let me get off here yapping about this book and let me finish these trainings so we can read some more. All right, so I've been reading, y'all, and we are now on page 543. I'm on chapter 38. Okay, I should have picked this camera up sooner because in chapter 37, your girl cried. Real thug tears. Okay, so just know that going in. It may not make everybody cry, but it made me cry. And I have a feeling I know where we're going with this ending. Or I had a feeling and then I was quickly proved wrong. Okay? So now we're trying to figure out if, and by we I mean me. I'm using the royal we, right? Right now I'm trying to figure out if, so I think I was telling y'all earlier in the vlog that, am I in the right place? Okay, I need to put my bookmark in here. I think I told y'all earlier in the vlog, hold on one second. Sorry, y'all. I think I told y'all earlier in the vlog that the flash forward parts of the chapter, so we're getting multiple POVs here. So we have the POV of Isabel, the younger sister, and then the POV of Vienne, the older sister. And then we have the 1990s version of one of them. I don't know who, and that's what I wanted to talk about, is the fact that we're never told what, just excuse the crying, she's hungry and Jared's getting her a bottle. We're never told in the chapters that are like present day, the 90s, we're never told explicitly like who that is, right? We're getting little hints, but the hints we're getting aren't good enough, right? So we know that, and again, this is not a spoiler-free vlog, so if you haven't read this book and you don't want me to spoil it for you, now would be a good time to turn it off. Okay? All right, and we're back. So, we know that Isabel and Vienne both participated in some type of way in the quote-unquote resistance of the Nazi Germans, right? Of Nazi Germany. So Vienne's was more like in protest. I mean, I guess you can say both theirs in protest, but Vienne's was more of like I'm not Vienne. Isabel's was more of like a political protest. So she's saving the airmen that are trying to like essentially pass through and get home, which she could be executed for. And then Vienne is, you know, she's a mom. So, and everything she did, I was like, yep, that would have been me. Mm-hmm. Vienne is like kind of, I almost feel like she kind of, I won't say stumbled into this happenstance through her friend Rachel. So her friend Rachel, we have learned at this point, did not make it. And so when she's trying to get Rachel out of there with her kids, Rachel's daughter died. That's when I cried first. Okay. And then she had like a 1 month or 2 month old baby, Ari. So when that happened, it was like split second decision. Vienne, can you just keep my son? I don't trust that he's going to be safe if I take him. I mean, you just saw your other child die. Duh. So Vienne is like, basically, how can I say no? Like, I'm bearing witness to this myself. And so she takes Ari as her own. But because he's Jewish, right, they were afraid that he would get found out and, the Germans would take him away. So they completely changed his whole identity. His name's not Ari anymore. It's Daniel. They get him all of these, identification papers and da da da. I mean, there was some paperwork that they didn't have, and they were able to kind of like pass off the reason for that since he was a newborn at the time. And no one really asked any questions. Okay. But there was a lot of suspicion, right? That, Vienne has this Jewish baby and, what's that about? And, she's saying it's the cousin of her husband who's at war and all the things, right? So then she essentially stumbles into I'm going to call it ministry, because that's what it was for me. The ministry of saving these children who essentially would be displaced otherwise because of the fact that they're deporting their parents. I just want to say, don't this sound a little like what you're looking at right now? And this book is old. Okay. But anyways, yeah, so they're just displacing the parents, and essentially these children are orphaned for the most part until they can be like reunited with their families. And so Vienne's like responsible for having saved a good number of these children. So at this point, we've learned all of that. So, and I think the part that made that chapter emotional for me was the fact that y'all made this beautiful scene of like happiness, family, doing regular family things after the war, blah, blah, blah. And then y'all take this baby back to his family? This is his family. Like it's a very complex, it was very heavy, complex chapter for me because I'm like, I feel you. I want that for him so bad. I want him to be raised in a home that has the same values, morals, faith, whatever that he was going to be essentially raised into should his mother have, if his mother had survived. But he's already built a beautiful home here. And you're taking that from him and he has no idea. He's a toddler. He has no idea what that means. He's a toddler. And then it was like the attitude like, oh, well, he'll forget it after a few years. It's just real heavy. Like all the parts. Because then I also feel heavy for Vienne because it's like you've built this relationship with this kid over the years. That's the last memory essentially that you have of your friend that passed. Like, oh, all the emotions. Yeah, I was crying. But now we're in chapter 38 and I don't know. It looks like it may end with a happy ending. That would be great. I would love a happy ending. I would love that. However, I don't trust these books. I don't trust books. I don't trust y'all authors out there. Okay? You keep me there. And I'm open and I'm ready and I'm reading. And then in the last, because what page is this? 543, and this ends. Oh no, those are acknowledgments. Oh my god. Am I really almost done? Okay, this ends at 564. If you tell me in 20 pages that you destroy my life, you destroy my experience in the last 20 pages, I'm going to be so upset. I don't want to be devastated finishing this book. I want to smile when I finish this book. I want to be happy. I want my heart to be light. Okay? All right. We're going to finish this book tonight because we only got 20 pages. off Miss Rachel before I get flagged. It's been a couple of days since I finished The Nightingale. And I was sitting here, I'm picking up Jared from work. And I was kind of thinking about that book because it's literally still in my mind. And I realized I don't think I closed us out. I don't think I closed us out with that book because I did finish it a couple days ago. Y'all, my heart is still heavy. It ended very beautifully, but in still like a very sad way. You know, I truly believe that two like emotions. You know she's doing this because I'm talking. I am a firm believer that two conflicting emotions can absolutely positively be present at the same time. So while the story ended sad, like you finding out things that you wish weren't true, but the way in which Kristen Hanna wrote these events and, you know, kind of described how they happened and the circumstances around them, it was just so beautifully done. So for that, I had to give it 5 stars. I was sitting on a 4-star simply because, you know, the book was long and there were times where I started feeling like, you know, is this just filler? Is this, you know, a necessary part of the story for, you know, the reader? Because that's, anytime I go into a book that's super long, I'm investing a lot of my time and energy into reading it. Even if I'm consuming some of it like via audiobook, it usually is going to be because the book is so long and I need to kind of eat up some of that reading time, you know, by listening, just because that's a lot for me. You know, and I get it, you know, reading for some people is something that has to be done tangibly, but for me it's a form of entertainment, you know, to read a book just like you watch a TV show. So I'm just choosing the method and mode by which I'm engaging in that. And I'm sorry if you can't hear me, I got 2 kids in the back that are just... But anyways, so yeah, I listened to some of it via audiobook, and then I tried to make sure I read it, the ending. I always try to make sure if I'm reading, I don't know why I do this, but if I'm reading something via audiobook, even if it's just half of the time in the book or majority of the time in the book, I always make sure that like at least the last chapter of the book, I'm putting my eyes to those pages. So, that was a devastatingly beautiful ending to that story. And I did write a review, which I'll read really quickly before I close this vlog out. And I'm always careful to make sure that when I write reviews, I typically don't do spoiler reviews. I know people will do that and they'll mark it as, you know, this is a spoiler review. So if you're gonna read this, just know there's spoilers here. I don't usually do that for quite a few reasons, but mainly, you know, I've been on the side of like going through reviews online and somebody won't mark it as it's like containing spoilers, and so these children are not going to let me finish this review, so we're going to finish this at home. Alright, y'all. I'm sorry. It is now the next day. Listen, if you have kids, you know, especially toddlers, they're going to do what they want to do. They don't care about you being on the phone. They don't care about you recording a video. They don't care about you listening to music. Whatever they have to say, and they want you to hear it, even if it's just what I call minionese. My sister, real funny story, but she used to always make fun of Journey because she would say like, "Are you speaking Minion?" Like if you ever watched the Minions, you'll understand. But anyways, The Nightingale. Let's talk about it. I wanted to read my review to you guys really fast, just so you can kind of understand where I was going with this. I think I was trying to say I don't do spoiler vlogs. I don't do spoiler contains spoiler reviews. Hold on. Something in my throat. I tend to not do reviews that contain spoilers just because I know that not everybody who's reading these reviews wants to obviously know what happened in the book. They just want to get a taste of whether or not, the people who read it enjoyed it and why they enjoyed it, or if they didn't enjoy it, why they didn't enjoy it. And so I try to do that as much as I can without spoiling the whole plot. So this was a 5-star read for me. I think I was telling you guys it was sitting on 4 stars, but those last couple of chapters really sealed it as a 5-star for me. I think she wrapped it up very nicely. It didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel like, because that's one thing about books I cannot stand. When we're coming to the close and the answers to the questions are going to become evident, sometimes I'll read books and you have all these questions going in or throughout the plot. It's like, well, what does that mean? And what does that mean? And who could this be? And da 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 da. And you get to those last couple of chapters or even the last chapter, and it's like the author will just throw at you the answers to all these questions in a way that just feels rushed. Like it doesn't feel like it was given the proper consideration, or what's the word I'm looking for? Like it wasn't done tastefully, if that makes sense. Like it just seems like they just want to hurry up, get the story done, and here's your answer to all your questions. There you go. Now, I could definitely see how somebody might feel like that for the Nightingale, only because of the fact that you got all of the answers to a lot of your questions at the end. But no, I think she did a fantastic job of ensuring that even though the last couple of chapters kind of answered everything, it didn't give rushed. And I think part of that was her ability to keep us kind of aware of things as the book was going on, hinting at things here and there as the book was going on, so that at some point I drew a conclusion. It was the wrong conclusion, but it started to get the wheels turning about, okay, that could mean that, but I could also mean this. That could mean that, but I could also mean this. And so those hints along the way kind of started to narrow down the possibilities, right, to the answers to those questions. And even though when you got to the end, some of the things you may have presumed may have very well been true, I don't think it was possible to know everything that was going to happen at the end. So, but you knew that, like, that little piece of information I don't have is out there. And so she could give it to me here. So, that probably sounds really convoluted, but essentially what I'm saying is she wrapped it up very nicely in a way that did not feel rushed. And so I appreciated that, especially given that this book was like almost 600 pages. So I don't like when I've spent, a considerable amount of time reading a chunky book, and in the last couple of pages you just wrap it up, rush it out. And then it makes me start to feel like I wasted my time reading this book because you didn't, consider how it would impact me to read it in that way, if that makes sense. Anyways, I'm talking too much. Let me stop rambling. But essentially, here was my review. I said, I had heard that this book was worth the read, and I'm so upset that I waited this long to actually read it. I'm in tears as I finish this book for so many reasons, and I was, girl. I'm feeling sadness, empathy, joy, grief, relief, closure, the list goes on. Hannah's writing is clear, focused, and draws you in to connect with each character in a way that made it hard at times to hate certain antagonists, and brought together one story with various perspectives that told a beautifully heartbreaking story of resilience, survival, relationship, passion, and protest. I believe this was my first historical fiction since high school and college where I was forced to read stories like this. I'll definitely be diving into this genre more. So yeah, I am genuinely upset. This happens all the time when I wait to read a book that has been talked about for a while, and I think I do the same thing with a lot of other things. Like when people speak stuff up a lot, and it's a lot of people speaking it up, I'm one of those people that will take that to mean I'm gonna give it a minute before I experience that or listen to that or read that or try that or whatever. Simply because I realize, right, there's a lot of hype around the thing. And sometimes people will allow the hype to actually be what's drawing them, not so much the experience itself. You know what I mean? And I think we often will, all these people said this book is so good. So when you read it, you have the expectation that it's going to be good. And so sometimes you'll do that. And as you're reading it, because you've heard those things, if you can't separate someone's influence of the book from your perspective and feeling about the book itself, you'll walk away saying it's a 5-star simply because you've heard all these people say that, and you are, as you're reading, defending their 5-star as you're reading it. You're like, oh, I see why it was a 5-star. I see why it was 5-star. Versus going into it just neutral. Go into it neutral. Go into it just to read the book and enjoy it for yourself. That's a lot of the reason why I don't tend to lean into the the super hyped up books, because I don't want to subconsciously be influenced, right? So Nightingale was one of those. I had heard actually for a couple of years that this book was really good. Mind you, I think it was published in 2015. So it's not a new book by any means. I think people just started picking it up more recently, or like more people started picking it up more recently. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, I would love to get into historical fiction myself. I put it on my TBR, and I bought the physical copy of the book as well. But every time I would want to go to reach for it, I hesitated because I just knew, number one, this is a genre that I haven't really, gotten into since college and high school. But two, I don't want that hype to influence my thoughts and feelings on this book, simply because it's super hyped. So I waited to read it for that reason too. Also, it was a chunky book, But yeah, don't just read something because you hear a lot of people are, raving and ranting about it. Unless like someone's giving you a recommendation to read it because they know you and they think you'd really enjoy it. Like, I try not to do that. I also try when people are hyping up a book like that, I try my hardest to go into the book as blind as I possibly can, right? So like The Nightingale is one of those books where even if you were to read the synopsis on the back, I don't think it would tell you too much about what to expect. So that was fine for me. But other books where, people are hyping up, the context or whatever of the book, it's like, I don't want to hear what you think about it and kind of know the synopsis and the layout and how it may pan out. And then now I'm going into this book with that whole like storyline, plot line, understanding of the backstory. So I'm really not going into it blind. And it's like you're almost rereading the book, even though it's almost like you're rereading a book that you've never read. You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody is giving me the whole synopsis, explaining how they felt about it, going, through the different themes and da 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 da, you may be as vague as you can. You may not giving me any spoilers and all that good stuff, but essentially it's like that trailer that those movie trailers. You'll watch the movie trailers and it just seems so exciting, or it's a comedy movie and every joke is in the trailer, or it's a action adventure and all the big scenes of explosions and car crashes and it's all in the trailer. And then you go to the movie to watch it and you're like, I saw all this already. Like there's nothing new here. Like everything you're showing me, I saw already. Like all the big parts have already been exposed to me. I just now have context for them. And that's not saying there's anything wrong with that. I do think that it dampens the enjoyment because you've essentially given me everything that I should expect. You've given me everything that I'm gonna see. Like, come on. Like the enjoyment I think is in realizing these things for the first time versus somebody telling you this is probably what's gonna happen, right? So like with Nightingale, one of the things people were saying was you're gonna cry at the end. You're gonna cry. And usually when I hear that, I don't go into the book, with a box of tissues next to me, like, oh, I'm anticipating I'm going to cry. But I do go into the book thinking to myself, okay, this is probably going to be an emotional read for me. So that tells me that there are going to be maybe some relationships that I'm building with the characters as I'm reading them. I mean, that sounds a little weird, but essentially you do start to grow attached to these characters. You grow attached to their stories and to their relationships. And so when someone says they've cried after a book, that doesn't necessarily for me ruin anything, because I don't know why you're crying. You could be crying for a myriad of reasons. This was one of those books where I definitely was crying for a lot of different reasons outside of what just seemed like obvious, because there was so much depth here. And I do feel like I want to start doing like more critical thinking, critical reading of books here and there. Maybe not every single book that I read, but books like this where when I was in high school, you'd write those book reports and you dive deeper into themes. Like I do enjoy that with certain books that I'm reading, especially I cannot talk today. Especially if as I'm reading it, I'm noticing those things for myself. Like they're coming up in my own thoughts and in my own reading of the book. I'm realizing these things. I'm rambling, but essentially this book was a 5-star for me. I highly recommend it, especially if you're trying to get into historical fiction. I think this would be a perfect book to kind of start you in that. Again, it is a chunky one, so know that going in. And also for stuff like this, reading it via audiobook, like listening to it, is probably a really good idea. Like I told you guys earlier, I read most of this through audiobook, and I enjoyed the narration of this one. I think it might have been just one narrator, but the way they were able to kind of match the emotions with the inflections in the voice, and just it was just so beautifully done. So highly recommend this book. If you are, again, thinking about going into historical fiction, or if you just want to read that, I don't know, if you need a good cry, this might be a good one. But also it did trigger a few things. Granted, I don't have family members who've gone through this specific experience, but if you come from a family line or lineage or race and culture that has dealt with any type of oppression, I think this will hit for you in so many different ways that it can. But I do think this would be a good read for you. Just know going in that you probably are going to walk away unsure of how you are going to feel. Like, I'm still a little unsure. Like, I think I got closure at the end, but it was still very like, man, like, you know? So anyways, I'm going to close this out because this is a very long-winded final review of this book. But I hope you guys enjoyed this reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed kind of like my take on everything. I am by no means like a book scholar or anything like that. I'm just someone who enjoys reading. So if you watched this and you got something out of it, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let me know if you've read the book. Let me know if you plan to add it to your TBR. And if you've made it this far in the video, thank you. Go ahead and leave. Can you guys leave a book emoji? Is that possible? If you can leave a book emoji at the bottom, letting me know that you made it to the end of the video because you're part of my end of the video crew, I would love to know that you stuck around to the very end and listened to all my ramblings. Okay? You are family for real. Love you and appreciate you, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye for now.